philosophical when you're having a philosophical chat, but John's hit the nail on the head. He can't read our minds, we can't read their minds, and we're not supposed to, and I don't believe in micromanaging. I think the criteria, this is the first step. The second step would be them now understanding that in the openness of having the basis to use PPPs, right, to use partnerships of any sort, right, right, they need to give us a report back that says that we can do it this way, generally speaking, and then we'll have another discussion like this. Then the next discussion will get down to real criteria, I think, as the deputy was talking about. The criterias are going to become eventually regulations or things that fall from the policy we determine. The regs are that in each of the business units, they will use these tools and designated ways and means to get to reviewing a service delivery, and that will be the third step down. I think the second step is John now understanding, the staff understanding that in fact this is a good thing, we use it all the time. How can we improve it? We would like your ideas to the improvement of the process. That's what I think the second step is.
You just said the last word. Is the policy the process? Because the end result for each thing is going to be possibly different. For some things, for some things it doesn't. So the policy has to be on how we go through the process to get to whether it's a contract position or whether all that. So the policy has to be the process. The process has to be how we communicate back and forth and how we get council's wishes through to the staff.
Right, and the deputy identified it when we looked at strategic planning. We said this is what we value.
Yeah.
Now, some of what we value, we don't pay a penny for. We use volunteers, we use service clubs, we use, right, and then, so, but there's other things we value, like clean water, where we enter into a contract, or safety in the community, we enter into a contract. So we have to identify what is it of our values that we're prepared to contract, that we're prepared to use volunteers. There's gonna be a huge wave here in 5 years, and you and I have talked about this, Bill. We have an aging population. I look at that horticultural group up in Grand Bend every year cleaning, and I'm thinking, oh man, it's an aging group. And so this is part of the succession planning we talked about. So if you have an underlying philosophy that drives how you're going to meet the values as a council that you want for your municipality, you can account for that.
So it's developing the process.
Yeah. From which the policy will flow.
Do we need any motions out of that for that report, other than we've received it, we've discussed it, and we want something back, a draft on a process, a defined process for different contracts or for us?
Yeah, I make a motion that our direction would be that we ask for the next step from staff, right, in terms of defining the opportunities, right, and identifying the weaknesses for this approach. The fact is, they've given us a historical lesson, they've given us all the things to be able to improve our service delivery.
Based on the values we've identified through our strategic planning. That's the key.
Yeah.
That's the key.
I think it's process.
The motion with that?
No, it's all right.
Seconder for that? Councillor Scott was trying to.
There you go.
All in favor of that? That's carried. We'll move on to, want to take a 5-minute break?
Yes.
Good luck on that report.
Take a 5
Near
minutes.
the bathroom, I guess. I'll write it down.
Okay. Call the meeting back to order, and we have a report. Received this report for council's direction, and this is items referred to the 2013 budget. Mr. Cook?
I'll move
Okay. Second by Councillor Scott. All in favor of that? Who wants to, this is Brent's report. Do you want to come up to the table, or do you want to stay back there? I know council has studied this. They have all their short, medium, and long-term ticks on it, and I think probably everybody has their short-term tick on it. That doesn't fit with the motion of 8% increase. So, council's got to make some decisions, look at the long-range planning and see where we're going. Brent, do you have any questions? Anything?
No, I'll just say that, you know, the reason we put this forward, you know, we refer to lots of budget throughout the year. And the challenge for me now is to try and fit it into our capital plan. some of these items are addressed, they have been addressed, and I get a sense of the priority, you know, like John said before, I don't intimately know what council's priority is. Some of them don't fit in with the strategic plan, some of them aren't in the master plan, so I think we need to look at planning them. Realistically, to look at them all next year, it's $1.5 million worth of work that it would be new, in addition above what we planned before. But if council was to give me just a sense of what would be, you know, where the priorities are, I don't need a specific year, short, medium, and long term, we can slot it in, and I can show you how it's gonna affect things moving forward, and then we can have a further discussion. I don't expect this to be a day where we get it all planned and the budget's done, but it's gonna be incremental steps here, because this will affect other things, and you know, to meet 2%, it will be a challenge. And there's a few things in here that maybe we decide are outside that 10-year priority as well. I need to get a sense of where you're coming from, and then I can collab and put it together for you.
Councillor Scott had her hand up, please.
So are you looking for us to say to you, for example, I'm looking at page 20, and I'm looking at the accessible pedestrian lights. And I'm assuming these are the ones that we're talking about on Highway 21 at Marywood and
Forest and Granville.
and
Yes.
so there's three or four, like, does the $36,000 account for one? Does it account for
No, that'd be all of our current intersections that are there.
are needed?
Yes.
So
Forest
we're
and-
looking at that, so do you want us to say to you, okay, we believe that is a safety issue, we have to do it?
That's kind of what I'm looking for. If there's some project that you absolutely believe should be in next year's budget, then I need to know that so I can put it in. And if there are others where you just say it's short term, and then once I'm working with the numbers in the spreadsheets back in my office, what I need to do is then, if you tell me something short term, I would look at slotting that project in the 1 to 3 year range, and medium term would be at 4 to 7, and long term is 8 to 9. And then what I need to, once we start doing that, I look at our historical expenditures and what our tolerance has been for levying funds, and just try and meet that. So if we've always, you know, spent say $1 million in one business unit, I don't want to have spikes, you know, up to $4 million one year down to 5. We're trying to spread out the cost wheel.
And
So we don't
the
see
other
those.
question I have is, in that particular case, that's your accessible ones that they're talking about, the
Yes.
first item. So, and you've got possible grant projects. Do we know that there are grants available out there for accessibility things, like,
That particular one we've applied for funding for. Our funding application has been acknowledged, which Dan tells me is further than we've ever gotten on one of these applications. So we're still waiting to hear, but it's not, when was it?
I think it's
January? Yeah, we're not likely to hear whether we get that funded until January. And this will change too. You know, there's some interconnectedness here between some of the projects. You know, accessible pedestrian signals, those are the 4 current ones. But should we move forward and implement crosswalks, and we decided to implement controlled crosswalks with signalization, then there would be two additional locations we'd have to look at as well. So there is some interconnectedness here, and really, like I said, just looking for a sense of what's immediate, short-term, long-term, beyond long-term.
Well, I don't want to go by issue, but this particular one, obviously, I'm the chair of the accessibility committee. If we're going to do a standard, we should have a standard, be it a controllable crosswalk or be it for the blind that we do have and reside in National Shores or come to visit National Shores, specifically Grand Bend, which can be an intolerable way to get across the road if you happen to be blind right now. I believe it's a necessity that we go forward. If we get funded now, it'd be fantastic. And I'm hoping that we can get, what is it, 75% funding applied, that would be great. But I think it's something that we should be thinking on the short term.
The 1 to 3 years is what you're saying, short term, or are you saying this year?
Sooner the better.
So-
Yeah. Do we have any other maintenance to be done on those lights on the way or on these intersections? No?
Nothing planned.
That's a shame. But, you know, I would rather see that coming on the short term than the long term for the reasons I give. It's gonna affect so many people's way of life.
Did you have yours up earlier? I thought you did. Councillor Boston.
At the risk of people throwing things, long-term, I'd like to see, it's already discussions have already started up in the north end about a possible